The Dream Show. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson, and this is episode 300, and it's our first Dream Show in 2026. Not only is it our first Dream Show in 2026, but this is also the first one after well over 16 years. This is the first one that's also going out as a video. So as well as listening to the audio version of this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and the various other platforms or at my website, you can now also go to YouTube and you'll find that we've got the whole videoed podcast there, so you can have a look at our expressions as we're talking about the dreams. There'll be places where, my guest, Sabine, is telling me her dream and I have to write it down. So it won't look like I'm sitting listening to her tell me her dream. As if you consulted me as a client, I would be paying you complete attention as you're talking about your dream, because you would have already given me the dream and I would have had time to look at it. But as you know, on the Dream Show, the idea is that the guest brings the dream for the first time. I hear it for the first time as we start recording. So clearly I have to take notes. So if you're watching the video version, you'll see me just sitting taking notes while Sabine's telling her dream. So yeah, a lot of you have asked us to do the video version. So hey, we're finally doing it. So just go to YouTube and you'll find out that. So I have just finished our conversation, and it's with my guest is a holistic sleep scientist, Sabine Christelli. And I've got her bio here, which I'm going to read out to you. She's based in Adelaide, Australia, and she's a holistic sleep scientist, and she can help you to reclaim deep restorative sleep through her holistic approach and her signature 9-pillar sleep method, which is a unique blend of micro-habit neuroscience, circadian rhythm science, and ancient mind-body wisdom. Sabine has been featured in various places, including Australian Traveller, Qantas Magazine, and the Sydney Morning Herald. And she's guided thousands through sleep challenges with gentle, practical, easy to apply, evidence-based tools that actually work. She has a postgraduate certificate in research and sleep science to PhD level training. And she also has decades of experience in teaching yoga, breathwork, meditation, and being an NLP and hypnosis practitioner. So she brings a rare fusion of scientific rigour and holistic depth. And her work has been showcased in Australia's most prestigious wellness destinations too, including the Reef House, Palm Cove, and Ecopia Retreat on Kangaroo Island, where she's known for creating serene, sleep-supportive environments that soothe the nervous system, balance overall well-being, and reawaken natural vitality. Now, you'll see Sabine's own natural vitality as you watch us talking on the conversation coming up. So first we have a conversation. She shares her dream, and you get the experience of listening to the person tell their dream and me taking notes and us exploring the dream together and relating it to their life. And Sabine brings a really a dream that she sees and is very unusual and quite magnetic. And I know that you're going to enjoy listening and watching to us explore that. And after we talk about her dream, we then go into Sabine's work and offerings and life as a sleep scientist, a holistic sleep scientist. And we cover a lot of ground. It's all fabulously interesting. Included in our discussion are, of course, lots of tips for you, wherever you are at life, to be able to get better sleep. A discussion of chronotypes, stress. We look quite a lot about what sleep deprivation costs us in so many different ways, the risks of bad sleep. Oh, so much. You're going to really love it. We had a fantastic talk. We could have gone on for a few hours, but we know that you probably only like about an hour for a podcast, so that's what you've got. And before we go to that conversation, a reminder about my website, which is janeteresa.com. That's Teresa without an H, where you can find out about my dream resources, my courses, how to consult me, my books. And at the end of our chat, we share Sabine's contact details of how you can get in contact with her, and they'll also be on the show notes. So let's go over. Here's our conversation with Sabine. welcome to the Dream Show, Sabine. You're in Adelaide, Australia.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is exciting.
It's an absolute pleasure. I've been really looking forward to having you on. And we almost had you on last week, but something came up that was rather sad. Your beloved cat died, and it was totally understandable that you were not in the right frame of mind for doing this. But a week down the track, so I've been looking forward to speaking to you.
Yes, and I even wonder if the dream kind of connects with that because that dream was 1 or 2 weeks before she passed away, and it was quite a profound dream. So I'm excited to hear if what you think and what I feel as well about it.
That's lovely. Yes, it's always a two-way. It's what I think, what we question, what you feel, and we build it from there. So it's a dream that you had a couple of weeks before, so about 3 weeks ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And I will be taking notes. And given this is our first visual recording of the podcast as well, for everybody listening in, yeah, you won't see me paying attention to Sabine because I'll be paying attention to my piece of paper down here and taking notes. But I'm totally with you, really. So off you go with your dream.
All right. So we all know that dreams are much more than words. They're often very etheric and visceral. So I'm going to try and do my best. I've summarized it here. I'm going to read it out, but also maybe put some pointers in between. So lately, I haven't been having a lot of dreams, and this one was really obvious. It was more real than this life, and I woke up from it as well. So I knew it was significant. So during my dream, the atmosphere was dusk. It was like the sun had set, but it was that glow in the sky, and it was almost dark. So it was that vibration and feeling. And there was a glow of orange in the air. And I found it quite beautiful. I will get into my age and where I am. So I'm looking around and I seem to be in a hilly village. And there are a lot of mountains, not just one or two, but it feels like there's a lot of different interesting structures that are not normal here in the Western world. They're probably from some other place, but it was very hilly, and there seemed to be a festivity going on. I was very little, and I was observing it, not sure if this was overwhelming or beautiful or a bit of both, but people were walking through the village and through small tracks in between those mountains, and I could see it. Like there was a valley, and there were all sorts of little, I guess you could call them the silhouette of spiky but rounded mountains. They were not spiky, they were rounded, which was so unusual. And they were holding lanterns. So it was almost like a mass migration or festivity. I was too young to understand what it was. So people were holding long sticks, and at the end would be a rounded or oval type of lantern that was lit. And I used to have that as a child in Germany. We had festivals where we had lanterns, and they were with real candles and real matches, and not like what we have now. And it felt like that, but an earlier time, not my time, but way before then. So I saw those layers, and I saw that people were walking, and it was like you could call it maybe pearls or a snaking pattern. And they were walking around with lanterns. There were some people that had lanterns and some didn't. And that we were just walking families, parents, children, elderly. It was like that. It was a real powerful feeling for me as a kid. So I think I was about 4 or 5, a definite child, no sense of puberty, but more that innocent exploration of my world. And I was holding my older brother's hand. Now, he was also quite young, but older than me. He was probably about 10 from guessing, and he was holding my hand so that I wouldn't get lost in this whole movement. He was looking after me, and but he's all I knew at that time. Now, I don't know whether I had other family, but I feel like I did. But he was the one that was looking after me. And so it was a cool breeze. It was almost dark. I felt sort of slightly uncertain, but also I knew something profound was happening. After a while, there was this kerfuffle. There was like, I don't understand because I really feel like I'm that little girl. And I didn't know what it was, but suddenly it was almost like too much movement. And I lost my brother's hand. And I'm like, half a meter tall. He's maybe 1.5. And all of a sudden, I haven't got his hand. And I'm thinking, what do I do next? Do I stop and wait? But people are moving, it's like a constant, not rushing, but there's a constant movement and sounds of people talking. Or do I try and find him and run around trying to find him? I don't call out to him because I feel like he wouldn't hear me. And I'm basically lost at this point. So I decided to move with the crowd and hope that I meet someone or find him again. I didn't know what to do. It was impossible to stop. And I had to just keep moving. So I know there's lots of symbolism there. I wanted to stop and have security, but I couldn't. And the world just moved along and there was nothing I could do. And it wasn't a panic from them. It was me thinking, oh my God, what is this? So I walked around aimlessly looking for something familiar. But people seemed very busy. They seemed to be in their own world and not noticing me. And I wanted to cry, but I also wanted to ask for help. But I was just standing there. I couldn't do any walking. So I wandered and got really exhausted. At this point, it's dark. And there's still people everywhere, but people are settling down, feeding their family. My body was hurting. I was crying. I felt tiny and lost. And I tried to ask women for help because I didn't want to ask men. I kind of had an instinct that probably isn't safe. So I saw these women and I remembered one face. She struck me. I still remember her face. Her face was like a middle-aged woman. She had a shawl around her head, which was very plain. It wasn't like jewelry or glittering. It was really simple cloth. And she had mud on her face and she had big eyes. And I looked at her and said, can you help me? I need help. Can you feed me? I tried to symbolize the words. I don't even feel like I could communicate all that well. And she just said no. She had her own things to look after. And I thought, wow, I really felt like she shook her head and just asked me to move on. They were poor too, and I understood that in my own way. And like I said, I saw the dirt on her face, long faces, aprons, barefoot, very simple kind of earthy life. So I was sad and shocked about it and looking for empathy or understanding. But I knew they were all too distracted. And they were doing a mixture of, I didn't know if it was a mixture of celebration or survival for me. So I'm just perceiving all the emotions and I'm trying to make sense of it. So I felt small and lost and I wasn't great at communicating. I felt misunderstood. So I didn't feel heard. And then suddenly, this is almost the end of the dream now, I saw a horse. It was there in a stable of some sort. And I found solace looking at this beautiful dark chocolate horse with really beautiful big eyes. It makes me emotional. And a serenity about it. And I knew that I could climb on something and look at it and feel that connection. So I felt peace and solace and I managed to hug it, around its neck. And after looking into its eyes, I think it was a female. And I felt like our hearts melted. I felt this feeling when I hugged the horse that in my heart and in her heart, even though her heart was probably further away, but I felt like this peace. And then I could let go and I left my body. Sorry, I didn't mean to cry. But so that is the dream. And it was peaceful and sad. But I woke up from that in tears, but also with a strange energy of, wow, was that a small death? Was this a beginning of a new chapter? I felt it was profound, but here I am. So this is my dream.
It's an absolutely fantastic dream, Sabine. Thank you. And it is profound. And I personally love it when someone cries, either when they tell a dream or when we're talking about a dream, because, of course, as you realize, you cry when you really reach the touch point of the dream, even whether or not you understand it. That is the part, and particularly because that's where an animal came in. And often, I could sense it too. It was an amazing ending of the dream. But our dreams will often bring in an animal when it's something that's happening in our life that hasn't really, it's stirring in our unconscious, but it hasn't really hit our conscious mind yet. So it's an energy. And if it's something we're more conscious of, our dream's more likely to look for a person to represent that aspect of ourselves. But if we can't really quite put our finger on it, our unconscious mind will often come up with an animal. Wow. So it's like an animal instinct or an energy within you that you're just beginning to touch. And in the dream, it went more than just beginning to touch, like it was totally heart to heart, and it was a real let go. So yeah, animals can come up at times of great change when something is stirring deep in our unconscious, and we're kind of aware of it, but can't quite really put words around it, which is what you did in the dream. And I think at one point in the dream, you said, I can't find words, I can't talk. But at this point in the dream, you didn't need words either. It was just a heart merging. Mm-hmm. So we know whatever else we're going to explore, that by the end of the dream, you really connected, and that was the word you used. You wrote, I felt the connection. You really connected with a part of yourself represented by this horse energy that made all the difference. And whether or not you understand it, it brought tears to your eyes as you're talking about, because tears, as you know, are always a release too. Mm-hmm. So we know at the end there's a fantastic release. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting you said at the end there was a double release, because you said I could let go, mm-hmm. which is a release, whether it's something that you're letting go. Did you get the feeling in the dream when you said I left my body? Was it the feeling in the dream, not when you looked at it later, but in the dream? Did you think you were dying? Or,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt I let go and didn't want to fight. And I felt at peace just leaving my body. It really felt like that. Mm.
Yeah. And yet it was a body that wasn't actually you as you are today. It was a body that was, I think you said, about 4 or 5 years old in the dream. That Sabine that was 4 or 5, do you know if she looked or felt like you when you were 4 or 5?
In a sense, I can see the connection. Yes, I can. I spend a lot of time in nature and on my own and observing the world, yes, in this life. Mm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you felt that, because there are several interpretations for you being 4 or 5 in the dream. One is because a lot of the dream, you're talking about connection or not having connection, like losing your brother's hand. A lot of the dream is about connection or not connection. And you've just described being 4 or 5 back in Germany as being a time of connection to nature. So the dream could be, the dream is always processing whatever happened in the last 1 or 2 days, and then it compares that to similar experiences back through time. So this dream may have been about looking for a sense of connection, or a connection to nature, or a connection to something in your life when you were that age that you feel is missing that you can't express at the moment. Or sometimes if you are, or if a person is 4 or 5 years old in a dream, we can sometimes say, well, what's been in your life for 4 or 5 years now? Mm-hmm. What has been in your life for 4 or 5 years now? What is essentially 4 or 5 years old in your life now?
I mean, the instant thing that comes to me, it has been there much longer, but the thing that has been most difficult in the last 4 or 5 years has been my mum. And trying to, all my life in a weird way, to understand her and to help and relate on a deeper level. And I'm quite aware that that is part of my journey, to either let go of or to find other ways, which is what I've tried. I've tried this ever since I was very young, actually. And that's part of the reason why I connected so much with nature. My mum wasn't bad. She did never do anything bad, but she was in her own world a lot. And I guess she has admitted herself she could never be playful, and she felt she's been depressed all her life, and all those dynamics, and they've just coming to the forefront the last 4 or 5 years as my parents have aged more. I found it hard to see the way in which her life has gone into a downward spiral, and she doesn't want help. She doesn't want to connect. She doesn't want to shift. She doesn't want to find peace. And it's really been hard for me. It's the hardest thing for me. I don't know how to explain it, but that's my greatest challenge.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And particularly because there were 4 words you used there. You said she doesn't want to move, she doesn't want to shift, she doesn't want to connect, and she's not at peace. And those are all words that you used during your dream. Well, at the end you found peace. Movement and shifting was the background nature of the whole dream. People were moving around and shifting.
Wow, true.
Yeah, and a lot of the dream was about connection or not having connection. So just those 4 things that you mentioned that have been a primary focus of yours for the last 4 or 5 years are actually covered in the dream. And the other thing that occurred to me was that, although we look at everyone and everything in the dream as a part of the self, and there was first of all, that the middle-aged woman that you wanted to connect with, and you particularly mentioned the eyes. What did I write?
Yes.
Just put big eyes. And then when you got to the horse at the end, you particularly noticed her eyes as well.
True, yes.
So to me, there's a connection there. And, the eyes are, what, the window to the soul?
Yes.
The way
Seeing
that
eye
you
to
saw.
eye.
Yes.
And it's true that if I look at my mum, she won't hold that deep connection. She won't look away, but it's not. Whereas with my dad, I have that, or with my husband, or with my kids. Yes. So.
So that sadness with the middle-aged faced woman that may or may not have represented your mum, this is someone that I'm asking for help from, because you said she could never help you really, for whatever reason. And she's someone that what was she? She was plain, she was middle-aged, she had mud on her face and big eyes, she was barefoot.
She was very simple, very simply barefoot, or really, I don't remember fully, but the whole vibe was poverty and simplicity.
And is there any of that in your mother? I mean, remembering that we're not necessarily looking physically, we're looking emotionally.
Yeah, my mum did never celebrate her beauty or her femininity much. She was always very practical and almost masculine. And I've always wondered why, and actually made that in myself as something to not follow, because I used to be a bit like that. And then I read, no, I'm a woman. I'm going to celebrate who I am and my body, my pregnancy, my femininity. So, and she never has, honestly. So it's very related to symbolic. It's amazing, the subconscious mind, isn't it?
It is, yeah, because, that not only pictures your mum and your mum's energy, but because that represents a part of yourself, that represents, a part of Sabine maybe many years ago that thought, well, this is what it is to be a mother, or I'm not able to mother myself well because whatever. There may be something with mud on your face. I mean, that's a kind of cliche. What does it mean if someone's got mud on their face, egg on their face? What's mud on their face mean?
Fantastic. Yeah. Too busy to look in the mirror. And also, I know my mum shuts down when I try to have a deep and meaningful. And it's this idea where I remembered before I went on this call with you, I'm very open and very intuitive. But before I went on this call with you, I was in my bathroom just brushing my teeth. And I remembered thinking, what is my mum so shameful about that she feels she has to hide? And she has often said, oh, I can't say certain things because you might judge it. And I thought, but I'm really not. I just feel like we all are innocent and we all do our best and we all run programs from previous generations. There is nothing to be, but she has often gone, oh no, I can't, you wouldn't understand. And I was thinking that about half an hour ago, wonder what that is, and she'll never talk about it. It is a bit like this shame and mud on your face,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you're obviously in tune with the dream when you were getting ready in the bathroom, because you mentioned you were thinking in the bathroom about she doesn't allow for innocence, and you mentioned innocent in the dream. At the point where you said, I'm 4 or 5 years old and I'm innocent and enjoying exploring. I think it says that, can't really read my writing.
Yes, I think
So
so.
it was innocence. And then you also said, you made reference, which of course is entirely true, but these are often generational things. They've been passed down the generations. And the feeling in the dream, you said, was although it took you back to your childhood in Germany, it felt like an earlier time.
Yes, like 1800s, 1600s, it felt like that sort of weird era of no cars, none of that stuff.
Was that a good feeling or a bad feeling, or what kind of feeling was that?
It was a feeling of, I've experienced it, but also a feeling of a lot of uncertainty. Like it felt like that. And tribal movements and family, but not family. It was very hard to explain. Very, yeah.
No, so it's got a lot of feeling of that, things going back generations, hasn't it? Because it's like dream is saying, well, this, my wish for connection or nature or a deeper connection with my mother or with my mothering, whatever, actually goes back generations. And there's some things about this that I like because it's nature and it's mud, but not on your face. and there's things about this which are a little bit challenging. So you had that sense in your dream of this issue about how I feel about my mum in the outer world and how it may or may not be affecting my inner world and how I am in the world. This thing I know, as I dream about this, I can see that it goes back many generations. And you could even say with the moving, the shifting, the tribal thing there too. In our individual lives, we move, we shift, we transform, and some of those things we pass on, and some of those things revert to past past histories that get moved on. So there's a lot of big stuff happening in this dream.
Yes, and the fascinating thing is my parents moved a lot within Germany and then moving all the way to Australia. And I don't want to move. I like travel, but I like one foundation. And I know that's often how we switch. And then when I raise my kids, they might really want to move a lot because we've been in one house or two houses. So I get that completely. And it's true. I want to have a foundation and just be in one place and move out from that is very strong in me. And I sometimes think, how did my parents move 8 or 9 times? That's so exhausting.
And
Yeah.
exhausting is another word you used when you were talking as well. Where was it? When there were so many people. Oh, after you lost contact with your brother, and he said, "Well, what do I do? Do I call out? Do I this? Do I that?" And in the end, I got exhausted. I felt tiny and lost. And I think you mentioned exhausted somewhere else. So, you could look at the dream from that aspect, reflecting exactly what you just said about all this movement, all this shifting is really at the end of the day is just exhausting. And you're right, your children will probably want to do the opposite because that's the nature of life.
Yes.
How did you feel as a child about all the moving? Not now looking back, but as a child?
It's interesting because I looked at it as an adventure. I was inherently shy. I had to move schools as well. But it gave me some sort of confidence that I had to inflict on myself, imbue or grow, that I can't go in there looking shy and lost. I have to go into the class with some confidence and then I have to make new friends. So I have to be reasonable, observant, and I have to find people that I resonate with. And I'm very good at that. And I know that was a good skill to learn. And I look at life as an adventure and finding the best out of it, the learning and the beautiful people you can meet. It's a huge imprint. I still live like that.
I love that you lived all of that and you got that from it, and yet now you want to you have been just staying in one place because you've already acquired those skills. Whereas if you'd been in one place all that time, you probably would have been the exact opposite. So you were at a stage in your life where you've acquired these amazing skills. And so it's now like you have been practicing staying in one place so that you're not exhausted, so that you can apply those skills more.
That, but I also like the idea of nurturing other people. I have a great foundation and I teach meditation and yoga and I help women to come into stillness because the stillness is where there's peace. Traveling is all great, but it can be an escape, and the stillness is where we remember who we are. So I love the idea of having a center or a base that we can call home. Of course, I also went through divorce, and my ex-husband and I are still friends, or it was a pretty good divorce as they can be. And straight away, we both agreed this house where we lived in became mine and the kids' sanctuary. Good. And there was this whole thing, and to have something called to call your home. So yes, you're putting the theme together very well there. It's a real life pattern.
A real life journey, because the whole dream was a journey as well. So even things like, perhaps maybe coming to terms with the way that your mother was and is not what you want or what you wanted. But on the positive side, it's taught you things that you would never have learned if she hadn't been that way. And she may or may not have learned things that she might not otherwise have learned if her life had been different.
Yeah, I feel like very much that what you said, because I feel really grateful because we can learn from our parents how we want to be or how we don't want to be. And the whole thing around my mum denying her femininity and even pregnancy and birth, I remembered what? And I just enjoyed my pregnancies. I enjoyed my home births. I enjoyed deep connection with my femininity and imbuing that in my daughters as much as I could. And so in that way, I've often said, you've taught me so much. You don't realize it, and so I want that relationship. I want to feel like I can hug her and thank her. And I have done that. But for some reason, I don't feel that she truly receives it, or recognizes it. She often says, nothing. Oh, how can you say that? And it's this dismissive thing. And it's like we are very, very different people. And we actually can't truly communicate in a way where it goes somewhere soulful, deeply. It's very weird. I can't describe it.
You're describing it very well, and so does your dream, because, there were times in your dream, particularly when you were wondering about your brother, you were saying, I can't call him because he can't hear me. And there was somewhere else in the dream where it was something about, I'm not being heard. I can't see it now in my notes. So that's the same feeling. Yeah, the same feeling as with your mum, that I'm saying these things. I'm actually saying what I want to say and I'm demonstrating, but she can't hear. She's not hearing. I'm not being heard.
In fact, when I do speak, it often upsets her and offends her, or it's too digging, why are we talking like this? And this is making me emotional. And then she switches the topic, which is her mechanism. And I get that she has her own wounds. But when I say things with the best intentions, it truly, most times, unless I'm so careful and I mostly listen and don't say anything, it really doesn't land in a place where she gets happiness out of it.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do.
It feels like I haven't given up yet, but I feel like maybe after that dream, a part of me has to really give up more. Although I feel when parents age, they need you more. And it's gotten so hard that it's,
Maybe she just needs you in a different way because that's who she is. Won't need you in the way that you would have wished, because you're right. When you connect with the horse at the end, you then had that feeling of it was peaceful to let go. So not letting go of your mum so much from what you say, but letting go of that particular struggle of wanting to be heard or wanting her to acknowledge my feelings or whatever. You may have to let go of that in order to have peace yourself. And you're finding connection, not so much with your mum, but with the horse, which doesn't really mean a horse, but it's that energy within you. So how would you, in the dream, how would you define that horse without using the word horse or animal? How would you define its energy in the dream?
Yeah, I thought about that because I thought horse. Horse is powerful, calm. To me, security, warmth, freedom, unconditional love, just wild beauty. And
Oh, that's so wonderful, because even the wild beauty there, you're talking about, I think your mum earlier, you said she didn't appreciate her own beauty as a woman even. And so this is you, the horse, being a part of your own energy. This is you endorsing what you already know, but about your wild beauty of being feminine and your power and all of these things. So really drawing on that from within yourself is going to enable you to let go of the issues as you see them in waking life. Your mum doesn't see it as an issue. You see it as an issue because we all know why. You would love it to be different. But this is about letting go of that maybe and amalgamating with that, all that energy within yourself. So I think there was at one point in the dream where you said, I was looking for women to help me, not men, because my instinct was women. So again, that's looking for the feminine, which you didn't think that your mum had. Sorry.
Yeah, wow, true. No, it's interesting because this is weaving together so much of my thoughts and meditations and contemplations. And I love helping women remember who they are passionately. I look at them and go, you are so beautiful. Please stop questioning that. And, they say, oh, my hips are too big or my mind is this. And I'm like, but you're unique and beautiful. If you own and claim this, you're going to be so radiant. And we don't all need to look like a certain packaged box that society prescribes, and it is something that still drives me. And so I now direct it out, and I have all my life, honestly, in helping others, because I guess that's my wounding that I'm projecting out, and I see it in other women. They have it, and I have conquered it because in myself, and so I like to help others to feel it's actually not that hard. It's actually a decision. And if you let go and trust, then you can feel the vibrancy of your femininity and your brilliance. Yes, anyway, I'm getting carried
No,
away.
that's it. Letting go again, like at the end of the horse, letting go and embracing your femininity and your brilliance. And you're spot on, your own wounds have led you to become very, what's the word I'm looking at? Very attuned to recognizing where other women are in their lives. And because you had to be that way growing up, you had to be really watching your mum, listening, watching, listening. And so, now you have those wonderful skills. It's about, passing that on, breaking the generational familial things for other people. Oh, you said something about family in your dream. Let me just have a quick look. Well, I'll just quickly go through some parts of the dream that you might have missed. It was dusk. So something is coming to an end. It's the end of a day. Mm-hmm. But you actually felt good about it. It was actually a beautiful glow, and it felt otherworldly. It didn't feel like this planet. So I am moving. I've come to the end of a day of something, this reality, which I, Sabine, call normal. I'm about to enter another reality, which I today think is foreign and different, but tomorrow when I'm in it, well, that will be my new reality. So so to start the dream with something coming to an end, and to end the dream with leaving the body at peace, it's really a huge transition, You're on the mountain. It was not normal. So again, you're transitioning from one state of how you perceive life to another. But it was interesting. It was festive. So there was a sense of some celebrating a change here. Mm-hmm. I'm little. I don't know whether I'm overwhelmed or whether it's all too beautiful. So any change we make in our life, it's, am I going to really do this? Is it overwhelming, or is it sheer beauty? Can I do this? Mass migration. If everyone and everything in a dream is a part of myself, this is something that nearly every aspect of my self is on board with. We are making a change here. We're going for it. The lovely lanterns, so they took you back to childhood. Mm-hmm. And lighting the way. So I guess it's I had that sense of nature and lighting the way when I was young. I'm back in touch with that. I'm just having a quick go through it.
Love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was a snaking pattern. So it had a feeling, I guess, when I think about it, without spending an hour with you, when I think about that myself, it's not a direct line. It's taking an interesting curvaceous path, maybe creative. And using the word snaking may have something to do with transformation too, because the snake drops its skin and comes out of it. Your older brother was the only male that you really were with. And he was about 10 in the dream. Mm-hmm. What happened for you about 10 years ago?
10 years ago?
Yeah.
I would say I became very independent. I had finished from being younger, growing up, having a family. It was a chapter of time around myself more. I was, I don't know, like 47-ish. And so it was a transition time, yes.
Did you feel held, like you had a hand to hold? Did you feel a sense of direction and comfort?
I actually felt like I'm nailing it myself. I don't need anyone. So
Okay.
that's another way of
looking at it. There's that part of yourself that's been around for 10 years that's nailed it, was kind of holding your hand in the dream and leading the way, but then you lost touch with that. So it's like I'm starting again somehow.
Yes, wow, this is so symbolic.
Yeah, it is.
It's wild.
Cool breeze, that's change coming. Yeah, that sense of what do I do next when you lose your brother's hand? So again, imminent change. Do I want to do this? Do I not? I'm entering uncertainty, but hey, uncertainty is a wonderful challenge. Back to those mountains, they weren't spiky, they were rounded. Things aren't too challenging. They are maneuverable. And without spending too much time, I wanted to cry, I couldn't, but you did at the end. You finally encountered the mother. You were shocked that she couldn't help you. So it was that sense of, I think when often we meet a sense of shock in a dream, it's in this sense, it's like, okay, right, I'm not gonna solve this one with my mum. Let's just take that shock on board. Let's change it into what I can do for myself, and be aware that there might be a part of myself that has been tempted to mother in that way, and because of that, that's like a shadow. I have come into my life the exact opposite, which is why you have been such a brilliant mother and so loving and careful and attentive, because you did not want to be like how you perceived your current mum. So it was like meeting a shadow in the dream. The shock of meeting the shadow, the celebration, the horse, and we're done. So
wow. And it happens so fast and it's so profound in a dream. It's incredible. Oh.
What's the before we move on to your life and how it relates and everything, what's the sort of one thing that stands out to you at the moment from us having explored that together?
Well, number one, I've always loved dream interpretation, and it's incredible how symbolic. I know about the subconscious mind as part of my work, and it's incredible how we just want to reveal and process. And as you and I talk, that verbalization is another level of healing. As I wrote it down and went from just having it in my awareness on the page and then talking with you, I feel like my most profound realization from this that's new, besides the dream and all the things you said, is that we need to talk about this more.
Yes.
And I'm sure that's your passion. And we need to have that trust and faith that we don't have to overanalyze, but we have to understand what does it mean to us and where is it guiding us, and get the rewards from these processes and dreams. That's what I feel is so beautiful.
That is so really lovely, particularly because in the dream you weren't being heard, you couldn't speak out, what's the point? And you just emphasized that, which is absolutely beautiful. That was a lovely dream for me to walk through, and I'm sure for everyone listening as well. There's always a great pleasure and much learning and inspiration to be gained from working with someone else's dream. And, you mentioned there a lot about your also background in meditation and yoga and teaching women to become more aware of who they really are, which is great. And as we said in the bio, you're a holistic sleep scientist, which maybe two different things, maybe not. Maybe that's where the holistic comes. How did you get into sleep science?
It's interesting because it's, how the universe kind of unfolds. We think we're doing it, but when you look back, there's so many strange dots that bring it all together. Well, I've always been really wanting to find out what makes humans be different, unique, thrive. And so my journey was the science and then meditation and all the different things, the mindset, because it's all connected and you can't cut any part of it out. The organs, what we eat, the relationships we have, how conscious we are, how we breathe. So I was giving a talk at a university about breathing and being able to navigate the stress of university life, being creative and really teaching them about meditative practice and breathing. And that same university, I've done other places too, but that particular university happened to be a sleep lab on site. And so I got really interested in, wow, have we done a lot of research on how people can actually sleep, and not just sleep, but have proper deep sleep and prepare for it, because it's such a sacred time. It's such a time for the unconscious and for cleansing of your biology and your spiritual dimension. And so I started a PhD. I talked to a professor, and it took a while to engage in that whole thing. It's a bit of a process, but that's how it happened. And I feel like everything I've ever learned can be woven into sleep, and the importance of it, that so many people seeming to neglect these days. And it includes dreams. I like the idea of conscious sleeping, astral travel, and also understanding our dreams. Even when I was a teenager, I had a dreams journal and I had a dream book where I would look things up, and I always had interesting dreams. So I'm totally with you and all the work that you do.
And thank you. And you can see looking back that that connection with dreams and then sleep was actually part of your path all along.
Incredible. And it makes sense because, well, it's all connected. And what we do 1/3 of our life, which is sleeping, repairing, dreaming, and the whole thing is the least understood thing. And yet, in a way, as you would know, you deprive someone of sleep for 1 or 2 days, they're not themselves. We go nuts. We can't operate. So it's the most profound thing that we do almost.
That's right. And I love that you say 1/3 of our life asleep, because in this modern day and age, many people are not spending 1/3 of their life asleep, and they should be. And I noticed there was one quote on the front of your website, which I did write down here somewhere. Was it Harvard research that 1 extra hour of sleep improves reaction speed in the same way that 2 cups of coffee would do without the crash. Mm-hmm. And that's just losing 1 hour of sleep a night. Mm-hmm. And then the other one, which I also saw, was from Forbes 2022, that sleep-deprived leaders, I don't know how much sleep deprivation there was there, but sleep-deprived leaders are 30% lower in emotional intelligence scores.
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge. Would you like to talk about that a bit?
Well, and I do mention it because a lot of leaders, the ones that are very conscious and they have been on this path, and maybe they're athletes or they're really, very powerful, they either do it automatically because they're still aware that sleep is essential, or they have immersed into it. Other people that are also CEOs and leaders or sports people in their field of excellence, often the missing link to their success, their full thriving success, will be that they haven't really looked at sleep, and they have some sort of a concept of, I can sleep when I'm dead, or the harder I work, the more productive I am. It's again a program, right? And a paradigm from parents or society or wherever they've absorbed that info. And so when I tell CEOs that I have to be sometimes very direct to really get the message, and I say, can you imagine you're actually doing this live and you're not optimizing your intelligence, not just your emotional one, but your creative one too? And you're missing out because you decide you want to scroll or work that hour longer, or don't know how to wind down at the end of your day so that you can get the good sleep. And in this case, it would include dreams as well, healthy, integrative dreams. So super passionate. And when I mention that, they always understand. They do hear it.
Yeah, they hear it, whether they take action. And you're right about dreams. Most of I think it's more than 60% of our dreams happen between 6 hours of sleep and 8 hours of sleep. So people that always get up after 6 hours of sleep are actually missing that dream processing.
I didn't know that. This is cool. Everybody listen to this.
It's so important, that extra sleep. I love it. That's leaders, and I can imagine you do some amazing work in corporate, trying to wake people up to the time they need to sleep. Another group of people I can think of that go through a phase of really difficult sleep is, of course, perimenopausal women, tossing and turning. Have you got any help with practical help and or insight into why it's difficult to sleep at that time in their life?
Lots. Where do I begin? It is a transition for women, isn't it, too, into another chapter. So it's actually something we could, even though it's difficult sometimes, recognize as a gift, and make sleep a habit of it's the hormones and the temperature regulation, and most likely the stress of ignoring ourselves. And it's not a blame at all, but it's this time to figure out what will help me, different blankets, different lifestyle, better hydration, more meditation, ways to, wear those silk nighties, have a sleeping routine, and honor the fact that your body is now trying to go into a new shift. And so there are lots of things like massaging your face, enhancing your vagal tone, maybe journaling out all those thoughts and the bottled up emotions from life that are wanting to come out so that you can lead your next chapter. So there's a biological side and a spiritual side and an awakening side. And I could talk for hours on that, but I feel if we look at it as a challenge for a good gift and outcome,
Yes.
then we can use it for that and really grow and shine through it in a big way. And yoga has helped me a lot, etc. Yes, go ahead.
No,
Yes.
no, I didn't mean to interrupt. That is really lovely, and I love that it's too easy for people to focus on the physical side and the hormonal side, which is definitely important, and to miss all those other key things that you mentioned. You're going for a transition, so obviously there are challenges, there are stresses, there are changes ahead. Could it be any of those things that are keeping you awake in the middle of the night? So putting emphasis on those as well is really lovely. I heard somewhere recently, it was only in the last few days, and I can't even remember where I heard it, that, and this may be wrong, you can correct me. I do know that if you're in a room and it's too hot to sleep, you don't get to sleep properly. But the information I heard was that heat interrupts the production of melatonin. Is that right? That would otherwise, so it disturbs your sleep because you're not cool enough for melatonin to run through its normal cycles.
Yes, I have heard that as well. It is quite possible. A lot of research is still fresh and is still changing.
Yeah.
But I always explain it in a different way because you see, having been a scientist and dissecting things, I found very interesting but limited. I've sort of linked it with also common sense now, which is in a respectful way. If you are not in a building and you don't have air conditioning and all those things, and you're out there in the tribe, maybe where my past life or this dream was from, you would have to be sensitive to temperature. Now, temperature does regulate the hormones and it does determine when you sleep, you have to have a certain temperature to feel safe. And it starts the release of biochemistry to support sleep. And heat is actually a threat, a potential fire, maybe illness. And we are biologically also wired to notice that and be alarmed and feel discomfort unless we are able to arrange a sleeping environment that supports not just our biology, but our safety as a species. So it's again, I feel this is maybe even just me saying that, I don't know, but it's a safety regulation for too hot, burning down, an illness, and of course the biochemistry that is not functioning as well. I mean, there's so much to it there. So I always say, look, have bed sheets that are really good for temperature regulation. Get your hemp out or your cotton. Try to get rid of anything synthetic, including have an underlay on your mattress so that your energy field can breathe and regulate. Have different blankets to your partner. Make sure you wear sleeping gowns or wear nothing if that's better. That makes you feel you can regulate your temperature. Yes. Don't be in an old program of I need to wear my woolen, whatever it is, fluffy things, and regulate that. Get your feet warm. Make sure you can regulate your temperature and have the room as cold and dark as possible. That represents safety to humans and survival.
I totally love that. I had never thought about that, heat being the threat of a fire close to you or a fever. That's absolutely brilliant. I love that, and everything else that you said there too. How did we've got a high pollen count here in Hobart today, so my throat's a bit dry, so I do apologise for that. How do the chronotypes, would you like to explain chronotypes and how I mean, I don't know what chronotype I am. I just know that I'm totally hopeless at staying up all night or even past 10 o'clock. And even as a young person, I get to a party, and unless I stayed long enough to get my second wind when I was there all night, I would generally just, I've got to go now because I need to sleep. So my time when I'm most able to do my best work used to be in the morning, like mid-morning, lunchtime. And now, although I have to do my best work all the time, obviously, I'm actually at my best in the afternoon. So for me, I feel that something's changed. But would you like to talk about chronotypes, whether they can change, whether whatever? Yeah.
Yes, they do change very much. So like the classic one is teenagers. They just love to sleep in, and their whole biorhythm is shifted, and it would be a hormonal thing, and maybe it's even a rite of passage and a form of survival. They start to get interested in more in their friends than family. They start to want to be different, and of course as a baby you have a different chronotype, and when we get old, a lot of people said they had absolutely no chronotype when they had kids, because you're just going with the kids. And then you have to remember things like what you said just then. Observe when you do your best work. Observe when you would naturally get up without an alarm clock. Observe when you feel really alert and you're most creative. And we all have that. We can all function all day long because we as a society have learned that. But the peak that is natural for you right now is maybe this kind of time right now, midday, afternoon, which it is for me as well.
Yeah.
I love getting up in the morning, but something in me really beams fully between 11 and 3. I love that time. And I like you as a child and even as a teenager and a young adult, I never understood, why would someone not want to be in bed by 11? That feels gross.
Yeah. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that there is a future sleep scientist and a future dream person. It's
hilarious.
chronotype.
I love that.
What are the apart from lark and night owl and lark, there are more than that, aren't there?
Look, yes, there are, but it's all philosophy and theories, right? So you can have the early morning bird, you can have the person that's got a very variable one. They're called the dolphins, according to a psychologist, Dr. Bruce. But again, he's just looked at it and created his own system. And I've got an article on my website for that. I always take everything with a pinch of salt and go, you trust yourself the most. This is a theory, and we know a lot of theories end up changing or have lots of subsections to them. So there is the general morning, midday, more sort of going with the sun, the bear type. And then there's the wolf, which is the night or the night kind of owl. That's just the way this man has categorized things.
Yeah.
And the lion, which is the morning, the early morning bird, and tends to get all their good stuff done in the morning. And the reason I explain it is because you will have a tendency, and I get people to, what do you feel at breakfast? How easy do you get intellectually and cognizant with everything? And when do you do your best work? If I said to you, you've got to make a really big decision and you've got 1 hour to make a really complex decision, what would you choose? What time? You will know it. You will know, yeah, between 1 and 2, or definitely, at 9 a.m. People know it. And I always explain, if you know when your peak productivity is, that's when you want to write your creative book, make your important decisions, think about and reflect on life, or make these appointments. And the other times is when you want to do more the menial tasks, maybe the emails or paying the bills or whatever it is in your life. So that's what I feel their purpose is, their gift. And people will know. If you want to find out how to find out what it is, then one of the easiest ways is to just live, if it's possible, without an alarm clock, and see when you would normally want to go to bed and wake up, and get in touch with that, maybe over the holidays now that we're in December, and write it down in a journal. You will be in touch with that, because I have to share this one story. This is very short but powerful. I had a client in Queensland when I was working at the Reef House, and this woman brought her husband in, and she said, I've read your work, and I believe my husband has issues because he goes by the clock and not by his instinct. He was told as a child at 7 o'clock is dinner, at 7 o'clock in the morning is when you get up, at 12 o'clock is lunch, and he goes by that instead of listening to his internal clock. And it's true. Sometimes that's very firm. And if you match that cycle, it's really healthy, because the body loves pattern and repeat and familiarity. But if you are a night owl and you have embedded this from your upbringing, you will never feel right. And you're always going against the grain. So yes, they change. And yes, they are very variable. You can be even 2 chronotypes, depending on whether you're on holiday or working. So it's a bit more messy than
that makes a lot of sense. And that was a really good story too. We've touched upon, lack of sleep, like for leaders, shorter reaction time, less emotional intelligence. What are the other risks of not getting good sleep for the general population?
Oh my goodness, now you're asking me the question. I will not be able to no, I've learned to control myself here and my passion and the importance. So what I find and why I'm so much focused on sleep now is because of these things. Number one, lack of sleep will affect your gut health, the gut-brain axis. So a lot of people will be out there having green smoothies and eating healthy and wanting to thrive. If you don't get the sleep, this food doesn't get assimilated. So it's that foundation, right? So do you want to extract the nutrients? Do you want your body to optimize your well-being and do all that repairing at night? It needs healthy nutrition, yes, but without the sleep, it's not going to have its full potential. Now, lack of sleep is linked with gut health issues, and gut health issues are linked with mental health and emotional issues, and vice versa. They go round. It's linked with increased heart disease, Alzheimer's, which is what my dad went through with lack of sleep. And it was pretty hard watching that and not knowing what to do. And then it also is linked with increased or metabolic issues. So some people really can't lose weight because they're never sleeping regularly and their body is always hanging on to fat because of stress and making people crave sugary food and fatty food because they're not getting the energy and rest from sleep. So instead, the body's craving it intelligently as it is from foods that quickly somehow give you the illusion of strength and power. So that is linked inflammation, joint pain, premature aging, obviously cognition, and all sorts of internal diseases because the body is not repairing at night. It's like taking your car to a garage and saying, just fix the windscreen wiper today. Next time, maybe just look at my one tire on the left. And so we come out lopsided, and over the years, it builds up, and then we can't get away with it anymore, and we have to navigate sleep to rejuvenate and reverse all those yummy things. The good news is I'm almost done because I know I get a bit tangled and
No,
passionate.
this is fantastic. Yeah.
The good news is the body is very forgiving and it will reverse a lot of things when you dedicate yourself to understanding how sleep works and how to get it, which is really fundamental in your life. And de-stressing and having a pattern and a rhythm and a habit is the number one and two priority for sure.
So help however you find it, and there are so many modalities out there for reducing your stress is a really important one, and routines. And I know you've got a lot more. I think, do you have a course on your website, a general course for people that they can?
Yes.
What's it called?
So it's called the 9 Pillars to Your Best Sleep. And I love this course so much, but I don't promote it enough. I've condensed everything into 5-minute videos. And you get 9 pillars plus 2. The last 2 are chronotypes and sleep diary. So you can manage you be your own scientist because you know best what's happening more than anyone out there. And those pillars are condensed to 5-minute videos, a little PDF and a work page, meditations, breathing practices, how we work. And also, by the way, we inherit from our families about not being able to sleep. We actually inherit if someone in our family had to go through stress and couldn't sleep, say during the war, that is locked in as a survival mechanism. And it often can mean that there's whole lineages in families where no one could sleep very well. And it's the trauma carried forward. And we have gifts to rewind that and integrate that with NLP and hypnosis, so that we can actually let go of this ancestral pattern. So it's very deep. It's not just get a watch and check your sleep and go to sleep, but sometimes it's in your subconscious. Sometimes it's in not being able to de-stress. And my course actually covers that. And then I also offer privates so that people, if they say, I'm overwhelmed, Sabine, this is way too much, but I realize this is what's missing in my life for my mental health and aging and energy levels and all those things. Oh, by the way, the immune system is also dysregulated, and that means more incidence in cancer because at night the body repairs and scans for cancer cells and the things that shouldn't be there. And if we don't give it that time to check and scan for that, it will grow the cancer because it's too stressed and hasn't got time to integrate. So I always say this will save you money, this will save your life, this will make you better in every way. and it's just all about sleep. And yes, this is all in my course.
That's fantastic.
Sorry.
So that's great. So 9 pillars. So to get to that, they would go to your website. And I think your website, is it your name?
SabineChristelli.com, yes.
Sabine, and I'll put that in the show notes as well. Oh, that's brilliant. You know, I love that great paradox of life that we get the most out of life and become our best when we actually just lay down and go to sleep.
Yes.
And dream.
Yes. Yes.
And people just dismiss it.
And respect that very sacred and precious and powerful time. In fact, you know, when we get out of the way, life works better. And often we think we can control everything. We don't need sunlight even these days. When this is another pillar, getting your light, navigating so you can get the sleep, because our biology is primed by light exposure. Yeah. Fascinating we humans are.
So much to learn for everyone listening in. Definitely go out and check out the course and do it, because, you know, you, Sabine, have so much knowledge and recent knowledge and research knowledge for your PhD, so much to apply, and you explain it in ways which is easy to understand and access and put into use in our lives. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show and to explore your dream with you. So thank you.
Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you for your amazing work and having me.
Thank you, Sabine. Well, I'm sure that you're far from asleep there. That was very energetic and lively and inspiring conversation. And I know that you've gathered lots of tips that you can apply when you go to sleep tonight. And for an awful lot more, there's so much Sabine has to offer on her website. And you can go to her website and particularly check out that 9 Pillars course. And her website is her name, Sabine, that's Sabine, Sabine Christelli, CHRISTELLI, SabineChristelli.com, and that link is in the show notes as well. Now, before you go, have you done my courses yet? Because you can start today with how to interpret your dreams step by step. If you've been thinking for years, I must do that, or for weeks, I must do that, or for days, I must do that, today is your day. Go to JaneTeresa.com, that's Teresa without an H, and you can begin right now to learn how to, because remember, dream interpretation is not a dream dictionary approach. It's not a one-size-fits-all. You can learn the tools and techniques to interpret your own personal dreams. There's a chart that you can print out, the dream interpretation chart. You follow me on the videos, and in the notes, you take a dream, you take it through, you fill in the chart as you go, and at the end of it, you've got a really solid interpretation of your dream. And of course, you can use that procedure over and over and over again. So if you've been studying dreams for no time at all, or if you've been studying dreams for years, I can guarantee you're going to get something, quite a lot, from this course, judging by the reviews people have given it. So how to interpret your dreams step by step at JaneTeresa.com. That link is also in the show notes. And I think that's about all. Thank you, as always, to Ewan Gray for sound editing and composing our theme music. If you've just watched this on YouTube for the first time, thank you for switching over and having a look at the visuals. And you now have choices about where to listen to or watch the show from now going forward. I neglected to say, maybe it's a little bit too late on the 22nd of January, but maybe not. Happy New Year, happy 2026. I'm sure that you have all sorts of ideas and insights and plans for it, and may your dreams help to guide you along that path. Thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Dream Show. So until next time, have a beautiful day. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson.